Historic moment for St. Kitts and Nevis.
Special good night to those radio listeners, those viewing on television, and those following us via the internet.
And one of the things that I would like to see established is
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Roundtable. I'm Clement O'Gara, your host. And in this program, we will seek permission from our guests to showcase how we in the Federation have invested in our youth. The investment we will debate tonight involves preventing social and criminal behavior. Joining me to expound on these ideas, I'm Sonia Badi, the CARICOM Youth Ambassador, Lawston Percival, President and Founder of Operation Future, Zara Jacobs, Counselor at New Horizon, Tivana Wharton, a probation officer and also an investigator, and my good friend C.G. Walwyn, who is our Chief of Police. This professional group will help to inform and educate us on the effective policies and practices and draw lessons from pioneering approaches as it relates to investing in our youth. Stay with us as we focus on youth dealing with correctional settings, long-term foster care, probation, runaway situations, homelessness, and truancy. So again, I say welcome. I've introduced my guest. I'm not sure if you saw all of them, but we want to say welcome to all our viewers and our listeners to 96.1 radio station ZIZ, and of course ZIZ Television Channel 5. And this is our final edition before the long August weekend, and we want everybody to be safe for the August weekend. So we're going to start with some of our, young and enterprising faces that's emerging in the, terms of youth development here in St. Kitts. I'm going to go to Ms. Zara Jacobs, who is a counselor at New Horizon. And what are some of the activities that you are engaged in with the youth in your care? And maybe you can tell us, I guess that will also tell us what New Horizons does.
Great. So at New Horizon Rehabilitation Center, I'm the counselor, so I'm charged with the mental health needs, both of the residents and their larger families. Right now, we engage in a lot of individual counseling. We do some group counseling and family counseling occasionally, depending on the matter at hand.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Next to her is Tivana Wharton. And I got the name right. Tivana is a probation officer. So probation officer is supposed to look tough, right?
Well, not exactly. Because I'm a probation officer, I by no means look tough.
Oh, okay. I don't think so either. But what role do you play in helping your ministry to define and I guess refine the investment in youth? Because as a probation officer, I'm assuming that you deal with general cases, or is it specific to youth only?
Well, as a probation officer and as a member of the Departments of Probation and Child Protection Services, I would just like to first shed a little light on what the department actually does.
That's fine.
Usually, when persons think of the Departments of Probation and Child Protection Services, the first thing that comes to their mind is the removal of children from their parents or their homes. That is a measure that is taken by the department, but usually that is the last resort after all alternatives would have been exhausted. Contrary to that, nonetheless, not only to the child, but to the entire family, including parents and any other family member who is directly involved in the life of the child. It is in that regard that the department makes a huge investment in our nation's youth. We believe in that holistic approach that encompasses all angles of the child's life, embracing the importance of family. Hence, the following are some of the services that we offer and some of the work that I engage in, including investigating any case that comes into the department, be it abuse or neglect, mediation, counseling, parenting sessions, monitoring of our children, because we need to be sure that our children are on the right path, on that positive path, and then we offer individualized assistance to various family members or various children, because the best thing for us sometimes is to deal with children on an individualized basis. Sometimes you can't generalize them. Also, we offer diversion. So that helps us to keep our children out of the formal processes of the juvenile justice system. And I think later on I'll probably expound a little more on that. And so through that, the department gives the opportunity to young persons to become self-sufficient and productive citizens.
Okay, sounds like a lot. So it's either you have a big staff or you don't have that much people to probate.
Actually, no, we have a small staff, but we are very efficient in what we do, so we handle our job.
Okay, and that's the Ministry of Community Development.
Yes, the Ministry of Community Development, Culture and Gender Affairs, because we're in one. Okay.
So, well, let's take a little shift to the left, and we're going to talk to the CARICOM Youth Ambassador, because, not only do we deal with the youths who, are in need of going into the probation system or being investigated, but once they get out of that environment, how does someone get to be the CARICOM Youth Ambassador like you are, Ms. Bonnie?
Okay, before I begin, I would like to say good evening to our listening and viewing audience. And thank you to ZIZ for having me as part of this panel this evening. I think the topic is quite timely and relevant at a time like this, when we recognize that our young people are going astray, and we certainly need more investment in our young people, and we really need to have this dialogue so that the other members of our society can come on board and play their part and live up to our country's motto of country above self, and dig deep and help the young people of our federation. How did I become the CARICOM Youth Ambassador?
But how do I become? What does that mean?
Mr. Gar, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but unfortunately, the age limit, I think you have passed that. I don't see anyone between the age of 15 to 30 can become the CARICOM Youth Ambassador. You basically have to apply. When I found out about it, I actually found it in the newspaper. The ad was in the newspaper, and I submitted my application. They basically asked if you were involved in youth work and some other details about yourself. And there was an interview with a panel, and I was successful.
Okay, and is this the CARICOM Youth Ambassador? Is it one, or it's one for the entire CARICOM community, or
no?
One for each island?
Each CARICOM member state, there are two. There are supposed to be two CARICOM Youth Ambassadors, a male and a female. At present, in St. Kitts, we only have a female because they're still trying to identify the male. Because the previous male that we had, because of work and personal, could not continue as a CARICOM Youth Ambassador, so they're still looking for someone, so that we not yet identified. But throughout the region, in each country, there are supposed to be two CARICOM Youth Ambassadors. And it's basically a volunteer job. I do volunteer work on behalf of the CARICOM Secretariat and the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, sorry. And basically we're tasked with promoting regional integration and being advocates for issues affecting young people. So that is why very often you might hear me on the radio speaking out on issues, and people might think, okay, we'll give her that authority. But it's vested in me for the fact that I'm the CARICOM Youth Ambassador. I have to go out and be that voice for the young people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and let persons know that certainly there are issues that are affecting us that needs to be addressed immediately. We can't wait till tomorrow comes, because there are a lot of issues that are affecting young people. And very often, I think, as a society, we turn a blind eye to a lot of things that are affecting our young people. And that is why, as often as I can, I try to put pen to paper. I try to call him, even if I'm sick, I'm going to call him on the radio and say, hey, society wake up, we need to play our part. And so that's basically my role, to be an advocate, go out there, speak about issues that affect young people, and also to motivate and encourage our young persons. So I do a lot of motivational speeches. I work with a lot of groups. They call me and I go in, I speak to the young persons and a lot of the schools as well.
Okay, sounds good. And I hope that the CARICOM leaders will take a page out of your book so that we could effectively move the region, to a place of more prosperity, not just prosperity. Mr. Percival, I'm going to go to you as well. And you have a very significant and, like Ms. Body, a vocal role in how we invest in our youth here in St. Kitts. Tell us about Operation Future.
Thank you very much. And to start off with, I must say, I think you made a mistake in putting me after Sonia.
But that's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. So, as we pick up, you'll get better as the night goes.
But I must say thank you and good night to you, our hosts, and to our fellow panelists. Good night. And also to persons out there in TV Land and also on ZIZ.com. Very pleasant good night to everyone. I am the president and founder of Operation Future, and you may ask yourself, what is Operation Future? Operation Future is a non-governmental organization, and it was formed with two folds. One, to bridge the gap between the police force and members of the community, because we found there was a gap and it needed to be filled. And also we were formed with an aim to address social ills amongst young people. So much in the schools, because we saw the need for something like that, and we got some officers together. We went to a school that will be named nameless, and we had so much fun that day. We decided we are going to go to all the schools, and there was born Operation Future. We have been up and running since 2006, and we have gotten bigger, better, a lot more work, but it's work that is needed and necessary. Every year you could see us doing at least close to 200 presentations within schools, and also to youth groups, church groups, PTAs, and some of the presentations that we do, bullying, sexual abuse, gang violence, drugs, because we feel that this is something that is needed. Even to parents, sometimes you speak to parents and they don't know, okay, this is this, or I saw this in my child's school bag or in pant pocket and I don't know what it is, so please educate me. And these are some of the reasons why Operation Future is formed. And throughout the night, we're gonna be able to learn more about Operation Future and what we do, who we are, and our goal in moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I go to someone who's been a friend of mine for quite a while. We go back to the days of Houston, Texas. I want to welcome, who's not a stranger to ZIZ, of course. I'm our Commissioner of Police, Mr. C.G. Walwyn. And we've seen and heard a lot of, your involvement in not only with, criminal behavior in general, but specifically with our youth. And I know that there's been some recent development and collaboration between different groups. So I want to welcome you, and if you can tell us some of the stuff that your department is doing as well to assist and making that investment, the old cliche, our most precious resource.
Good evening to everybody, and good evening to those out in TV land. When I first came to St. Kitts, I recognized that there were many deficiencies here with regard to the youth. As a matter of fact, the year before I came here, not even thinking about coming here, I'm surfing the internet and I ran across Operation Future and made a contribution, financial contribution to Operation Future. I also listened to ZIZ while I was on patrol in Orlando, and there was a boxer up in St. Peter's, and they were asking for donations, and I also made a donation. Anything to do with children, I'm always there. Since I have been here in St. Kitts, and I am a born Kittitian, having been raised in Houston, we were able to make some partnerships with external police agencies as it relates to programs for children. One of the first programs that we brought here was the MAGIC program. And MAGIC means mentoring, advising, guiding, instructing children. And this is a program that is placed in St. Kitts, you say primary schools, you say elementary schools, in the primary schools, and we approach the children between ages 10 through 13. And it's a 10-week program for about 45 minutes a day for 10 weeks, once a week for 10 weeks. And then we also approach the children in kindergarten for about 10 minutes a week for 10 weeks. And in this program, we give children alternatives to guns, gangs, drugs, and violence. Now, this program was brought here by me, given to us by the Orange County Sheriff's Office, our sister agency in Orlando. But here on the ground, Dr. Esdale and Mr. Osmond Petty, they got with me, and we put it together, and we have it now here in the Federation, and we've had 374 children graduated from the program so far. The next school year, we're going to start again with the children who did not get it the last time. And also in Nevis, we have extended the program there to Nevis in the schools. This program is taught by members of the SVU and from the scenes of the Special Victims Unit and from the Scenes of Crime unit. They volunteered their time to teach. They were trained by the Orange County Sheriff's Office. The instructor came here and trained them. And just recently, we went to Orlando, myself and Sergeant Lindita Powell, and we presented a picture of the 374 children who graduated the program here in St. Kitts to the Sheriff of Orange County in Orlando, Florida. Now, this program is an investment in our youth because it costs $15,000 US per school per year, and we get it free from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And quite recently, we went up to Houston, myself and Inspector Rosemary Rogers, and we met with the Houston Police Department and the TAPS program, and I saw ZIZ had a TAPS on last night. TAPS is similar to the program that Operation Future is espousing, in the sense that we bridge the gap, like he's saying, between law enforcement and the youth, the at-risk youth. We go after the at-risk youth to show them that law enforcement might be different than what they perceive. Part of this program is to have less criminals. A lot of times, if you have youngsters who are not directed properly, they end up on the wrong side of the law. TAPS is designed to ensure that this doesn't happen, and if they have been there, we try to bring them back. Recently, I spoke to a group in Texas, a church group, and I spoke to them about saving our youth. And I said, even though your child may have done something that have caused him to go to jail, he is still your child. Don't give up on him. And even here in the Federation, I've said the same thing. A boy may have done something, a young man may have done something that he got on the wrong side of the law, but it is still your child. Never, ever give up on your children. We also do a few more things here too, like the truancy patrols at night, where we go out if our young children under 16 years of age are on the streets after 10 o'clock at night. We have an officer who's dedicated to pick them up and bring them to the station, and their parents have to come and get them, otherwise they will sleep on the bench. And after the third time, then we'll go and we'll charge the parents, because we believe that you should be responsible for your child. And we have also placed officers. We have 2 schools in the Federation where we have had issues with in-school violence. And we have placed officers in these 2 schools, and since we have done that, the violence has gone to almost zero. Another thing that we're doing with the SVU is that we are filing cases, more cases, against men and women who abuse children, whether physically or sexually, within the Federation, and we have been getting some very stiff sentences for the men who have been sexually abusing our underage children.
Okay, sounds like another extensive, program by your organization. But I mean, it sounds all good, but we still have people who, slip through the cracks. And Zara, some of them end up in Sadler's at
Village.
In Harris's Village. Well, next to Sadler's. I was a little bit close. And so, I mean, how do you? What is the procedure? Well, first of all, who are some of these people who end up at the New Horizon? And how do you guys deal with them? How long are they there for? I mean, these are some of the things that I think people would probably be interested in hearing.
Okay, so New Horizon Rehabilitation Center we accepted our first resident in December of 2013. We are dedicated to trying to help youth who have had contact with the law. Usually they have been charged with a criminal offense or they have been determined to be beyond care and control. And we are supposed to help them try and reintegrate so that when they are released, that they're going to make more positive choices for themselves. Usually, depending on the criminal offense, you might be there from anywhere from 6 months to 3 years. And we can take people as young as 12 and up to 18. If they're enrolled in an educational program, maybe we might carry them to 21 just so they don't have to go to prison for those last 3 years that they're with us or in the system. But my work as a mental health person, both at New Horizon and outside, has shown me that the difference between our residents and the youth in schools is negligible. Our kids are struggling with issues. The issues that I hear in New Horizon from the kids that we have are the same issues that someone who approaches me on the street and asks me to talk to their daughter about. It's the exact same thing. It's just by chance that maybe the truancy officer picked them up 3 times, or Tivana had to see about them, that they ended up in the magistrate's court with us. Our young people are struggling. There are lots of people doing lots of positive things, but adolescence is a turbulent time. Teenagers, they think they know everything. Physically, they can do just as much as an adult, and they're
listening to your mind.
But it's true, and they think that nothing bad can happen to them, and nothing is ever their fault. So that combination of factors means that you're at risk for so many things. And we try as much as possible to provide a community where there are positive choices for young people. But media makes it seem like young people only do negative things. And when I talk to my young people, both at New Horizon and outside, nothing is their fault. When they do something, they said, "Did you see me do that?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't." Like, there's so much denial, there's so much, and it's difficult not to play into that when we support them. But the fact is, I just want to remind people, our youth at New Horizon are very much like the youth outside of New Horizon. They're just young people who got caught up in things that maybe they should not have. But I mean, one of the things I want to talk about tonight is about parenting. Parenting is one of the biggest things that can have such a strong influence on the outcome of young people, and it's one of our hardest jobs. I'm not a parent, but I know that those who parent know it's a hard job, and parenting a teenager is a challenge. So hopefully people are willing to talk about parenting.
Okay, and I mean, that's a very important component of what we were discussing tonight. I mean, the parents have to invest in their kids if they, want them to not end up over by my good friend CG or, in Zara's place. So, but Mr. Percival, I know that your group has been doing quite a lot in terms of assisting the young people. I mean, how is this working out for you, and what are some of the things that you're getting into? And I mean, I guess I'm looking for some of the stuff that's different, not the same old. Let's go to Bible class on Wednesday night. I mean, nothing against the Bible, but I mean, stuff that we need to do in our current situation, our current age. I mean, we're in the technological age. As Zara said, I mean, some of these people, they stare you in their face and they told you they never threw the match, but you saw them. It's captured on, their camera. It's put up on social media. So, I mean, what is some of the stuff that your group is doing?
To rewind and piggyback on something that she said, that parenting is challenging. Parenting is challenging when you start parenting too late. Yes.
I think even it's a hard job. It is challenging from the get-go because it is non-stop.
When you start parenting too late, that is when it becomes challenging.
So are you saying,
let's take for
let me
instance.
just make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. When you said too late, are you talking about older people having kids?
No.
Are you talking about people taking control?
Taking the responsibility.
Taking the responsibility.
That is what I'm speaking about. If you have a tree and you want the tree to go in a particular direction, don't wait until the tree have a trunk the size of my boss, the commissioner, to start to bend it. You have to bend it when it's like my good friend over here, Sonia. When it's small and brittle and easily bent, you have to start early o'clock. From the time the children down there, you have to start speaking to them, you have to start letting them know, you have to put down your ground rules, and you have to make sure that they adhere to your ground rules in order to get success. Don't wait until the children them don't start to get trouble to say, I'm going to try and pull him back. No.
Okay, but hold that thought. I'm gonna come to you, Sonia, but I'm gonna let Zara jump back in since she was the one who raised the parenting issue. And Tivana, we're gonna let you also comment on this as well. Then we're gonna go to Sonia. So,
Officer Purcell, I completely agree. You don't want to start too late, but I think even if you start from when your child is this small, it is a hard job. It is non-stop, and I think that is what parents find challenging. It's very easy to come in at the late stages, but parents who want to parent late, when they come in late, it is usually not parenting. They're usually aggressive and frustrated and upset, so they're trying to control. And I don't think parenting is necessarily 100% about control, but parents who start too late, as you said, are trying to control behaviors that have gotten way out of hand. But I do think anyone who has just had a baby, who, no matter how small they are, it is a challenging, non-stop job. I think it is challenging from the start, but that late parenting, that's when parents are trying to control their children and things have gotten out of hand.
Tivana, you want to jump in on this as well?
Sure. Respectfully, I don't disagree with you entirely, but I think, as Zara said...
That's a nice way of saying it.
As Zara explained, the parenting is indeed challenging. When a child comes into the world, it's not like when you go to an electronics store and a manual comes with it. There is not a manual to say, well, if your child does this is how you respond as a parent. So sometimes we don't know how to parent. We think that we're doing a good job. And sometimes pride is at the bottom of it all. Sometimes you don't want to reach out for assistance because my department, the Departments of Probation and Child Protection Services, as I would have outlined earlier, we offer parenting sessions because we do understand that it is a challenge. So I do believe most persons, once they decide to be a parent, they set out to do the best possible job. But sometimes it's that they lack the knowledge on how to deal with the different behaviors some of our children exhibit. And so it presents a challenge for them. But I think it's not that they wait too late to start parenting. I really don't believe that is the issue.
Okay, so we're going to get back to you, Sonia. We're going to let Mr. Percival jump back in as well, Officer Percival, and then the Commissioner as well, because the Commissioner, I'm sure, has a lot of stuff that he needs to, get to. But we're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back after this.
This majestic and magnetic little jewel is probably one of the most stunning and intriguing islands in the Caribbean, and it is definitely the sweetest. While it is one of the smaller islands in the region, it is culturally rich and unique in every possible way. There's always something to do in St. Kitts. We are richly blessed with a multitude of splendid gold and black sandy beaches with warm crystal blue water and intoxicating blends of sunlight. And yes, it feels just as miraculous as it looks. Go horseback riding along the cascading sands of our famous beaches. This adventurous little island is packed with history. We can boast of interest points like the Independence Square, Edgar Challenger International Museum, Bloody Point, Black Rocks, Carabel Boutique, and Brimstone Hill, our world-famous national fortress. St. Kitts is heaven on earth. Enjoy moving to pulsating rhythmic sounds? Head to the strip that's always buzzing with nightlife and excitement. Get loose, break free, and dance your life away. Meet us in December for Sugar Mass, the sweetest carnival in the world, hands down. Witness our rich cultural heritage in action and let a Kittitian really show you how to walk up. Everything is sweeter in St. Kitts, so it's time to stop dreaming. Follow your heart. Since you've been invited, and I know you will be coming, join me, and I will take you next door to my sister island, Nevis, where I, Yarini Morton, and 11 other charming young ladies will be competing for the prestigious title of Miss Caribbean Culture 2014. See you when you get here. I'll be your tour guide all the way.
Made a stupid mistake.
See where it's now landed me.
My baby's now behind bars.
Feels forgotten by society.
It's time for us to make a change.
We must make a change.
Juvenile Justice Reform Project.
All of us make a change.
Make a change. Instead of incarceration, y'all, let's try diversion, reform, rehabilitation.
Our youth needs a second chance beyond bars.
A world that accepts them with open arms.
It's nice to know that you're here.
Just know that we care.
This time we'll do our part.
Let's all make a fresh start.
It's time for us to make a change.
We must make a change.
Juvenile Justice Reform Project. All of us make a change. Make a change.
The Juvenile Justice Reform Project, a new path to changing lives for good, funded by USAID and the OECS Secretariat.
Welcome back to the roundtable. We're discussing investing in our youth, but I guess we can't invest in our youth if the youths are not taken care of by their parents. And Sonia, you wanted to jump in on this issue as well.
Yes, I wanted to add that we've been discussing parenting and how challenging it is. And that is why I think that parents can't do it alone. And that is why I personally believe in the saying that it takes a community to raise a child. Very often we have great expectations of the young people of our federation. But I remember while I played under 23 netball for St. Kitts, we used to train at mornings, and while jogging, we also used to have to say, what you put in is what you get out. And as a society, are we putting in enough? Are we investing enough in our young people? And when I speak about investment, very often you hear the word investment and you think finances. And I mean, to invest in a young person is not necessarily just money. You have your time, your talent, your gifts, a word of advice, motivation, encouragement. There's so much more as a society that we can do to invest in our young people and help the parents, you know, to overcome this challenging job they have of actually parenting their own children. So if we recognize that a parent is having a particular challenge, we can say, well, hi, Mr. O'Gara, I think I could, you know, speak to your son or help him with your homework, because a lot of our children, the parents, they might not even know some of the topics that are being taught in school today. But, I mean, there are other parents who, you know, they're more versed in what they've gone off to university, and you can chip in, or you have better parenting skills that you could share with another parent. But too often, we just sit back and say, she child rude, he out to order, he delinquent, and all of these type of things, and instead of actually lending a helping hand. And so when you think about investing, what are we giving, what are we expending of our own selves and our time and our energies to ensure that our nation's children are become productive citizens? And I want to echo something that the Commissioner of Police would have said. Never give up on your children. Just recently, I was in Basti and a grandparent. She said to me, my daughter says she ain't going, she's son graduation. I was like, really? He not do good in a school, so she not going. And I'm like, please give me her cell phone number. And I went back to my office and I called her up. I said, hi, this is Sonia Body. I was told that you're not going to your son's graduation. She said, he not do good in a school, so me not go. I said, he's not the worst child, and he's not the only child that's not doing well. But every child is different, and every child in St. Kitts is not going to excel academically, but we all have unique skills, gifts, and talents. And at the same time, because the child is not coming first or second, that does not mean that you should not go and give that child your moral support and allow them that opportunity to feel just as good as the other children to be a part of the graduation ceremony. And I said, you should go ahead, because at the end of the day, I said, what is he interested in? She says, he likes mechanic. He likes to do, you know, things about cars. I said, you never know, he might be the next big mechanic in St. Kitts. If that is the area he's interested in, well, you find somebody who fixes cars and you allow him to go about that person and to work alongside it as an apprentice. And too often we give up too quickly, because if my child is 12 years old and he's going to graduate from primary school and you don't think he's doing well enough, and already you're throwing your hands up in the air, I am not going to, you know, extend it. I mean, what is going to happen when that child becomes a teenager? What is going to happen with that child? And even, I mean, even I speak of the prison system, and I'm sorry, Mr. O'Gara, I think you missed out the prison system tonight. I think they should be a part of this panel, because they are doing...
Well, the table is only so round.
Okay, well, I think we need a bigger table, Mr. Manab. Mr. O'Gara, I think
we've had different parts to some of the shows that we've done, and yes, I definitely agree with you that I think there's so many other, I mean, you know, constituent groups that can actually fit into a discussion of this nature.
Because as the commissioner was saying, you know, a child, they break the law, they get into some type of trouble, and, you know, parents are ready to you wash your hands off your children at that early stage. I mean, nobody's going to take they give up their good child and take your bad child, so you should still come and try to work with that child. I mean, one day I was at the hospital visiting an old lady, and as I walked down to the kitchen to get something, I recognized this guy. Clearly he was accompanied by a prison warden, and I was like, hey, but I know you, I remember seeing you when I was going to high school. And, you know, I stepped back and I was like, okay, clearly they had him, you know, the shackles was on his hand and everything. And I recognized him and I said, hey. And he said, hey, Miss Buddy. And somebody else might just say, he in a jail clothes, me not gonna talk to you. And I said, give me a moment, I'm going back to tell you about this thing for the old lady. And I went back and I had a good conversation with that young man, a very good conversation. They said, you know, Miss Buddy, I am so pleased because somebody else wouldn't have taken out this time to have this conversation with me. And funny enough, I felt inspired by just sitting down and having that conversation with that young man. He even asked, he said, could you bring, I have this whatever condition, could you buy me some foods? I said, sure. I mean, why should I think that because he's in jail, he's not good enough for me to spend $10 on and to buy a juice? And funny enough, months later, about 4 or 5 months later, I got a letter from the prison that he actually wrote me to thank me. And I said, you know what? And I was actually having a bad day that day. And when I got that letter, it cheered up my day so much, because it goes to show that when we invest in other people, they can in turn, make an investment. And as simply, it was just a letter that he said, thank you. And you continue doing what you're doing. And that motivated me so much. So sometimes we have to realize that we have to move away from thinking that it's only money we can give, and I don't have money, so I can't give anything. But it's a kind word of encouragement. We can do so much for our nation's children.
Well, as you say, I mean, I guess you use the modern word and say society instead of a village to raise the child. I'm going to let the commissioner jump in, because I'm sure, you must have had, hundreds and hundreds of conversations or interaction with young people who have kind of, crossed the criminal barrier as such. What are some of the things that you're hearing from some of these young people, either why they get into stuff like this, and how do they plan to, rehabilitate once, the prison is over?
Well, I want to go back on something she mentioned about children. Mm-hmm. The woman whose son was not doing very well in school. Mm-hmm. I had a personal assessment in that area with my daughter, one of my daughters, and she's went to summer school in Houston. We go to St. Croix. She go to summer school in St. Croix. And the last year that she was in high school, she was not doing too well in math. Mm-hmm. And I was making $35 an hour. And I was paying $45 an hour for her to have a tutor. And when my daughter graduated, I felt good, because she accomplished something that most people thought she would not have been able to. That same daughter, as you mentioned about the skill, the vocational skills, my daughter, since she was like 3-4 years old, she would make doll clothes. She'd make clothes for the dog. My daughter ended up going to school to study fashion design and merchandising, and has a bachelor's degree in that field. I just came from home the other day and assisted her in investing in a computerized machine, and she designs clothes and she sews the clothes now. And had I given up on my daughter back then, she would not be where she is. I have 4 daughters. One's a psychologist, that one's, and I got 2 more in college. But you also said something about people in jail, your children in jail. One of the things that I've always done is champion people who try to help themselves. In Texas, about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, in that same community speech I was giving, it was Father's Day. And I was the guest speaker, and I told the audience that we cannot give up on our sons. Our sons are our future, and we need to ensure that no matter what our sons go through, we're right there. And if you don't have a son, mentor somebody else's son. And I said, sure, your son's been to jail. So was Jesus. He'd been to jail, and we worship him today. And we say, well, our son was this person and that person, and we're ashamed of what they did. And I said, well, the Apostle Paul, before he became the Apostle Paul, his name was Saul. And he was the type of dude you didn't want your children to emulate. But today, we follow the New Testament, and a lot of it was written by Paul. So you never know what your children are going to turn out to be. I left here in 1970, and I came back in 2011. And I know some of the people today who are in high offices here in this community, and I knew what their parents were and what they were when I was a kid. And if we look back then, even myself, I came from up the village. I used to walk without shoes sometimes. I used to wear the little baggy pants sometimes. But if you looked at us back then, you would never believe that we would be what we are today. So you never know what your child is going to be, and you never, ever give up on your child. And as I told the audience, when you get that one child that's very ungrateful, because we have all had them, when he's real grateful, take the example from the prodigal son's father. Embrace your child, open your arms, welcome him home, and set him back on the right path.
Okay, thank you very much. I almost wanted to say amen just now, but I don't know. I think this is the wrong forum. I'm going to go back to Mr. Percival, because I know we've talked about a lot of stuff that's, affecting our youth, and we've kind of been kind of general in terms of how we assist. But I know your group has been involved in a lot of special projects throughout the years that some people may not necessarily know about. So it'd be interesting to hear about some of these things. I know I asked you this question before, but we diverted to the parenting topic. So let's come back to that. So at least we can hear some of the investments that we've made in our youth here in the Federation.
There's a saying that goes, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach that same man to fish, and you feed him for life. And that is what Operation Future believes in. And going off of that, Operation Future set up shop at the community center, St. Johnson Village Community Center, just across the road from us here. And in that community center, we have a lounge, TV room, classroom, kitchen, and music room equipped with a studio, recording studio, state-of-the-art studio. In there, we have after-school programs. Children come at afternoons, they get assistance with their homework. If they don't have any homework, it's mandatory. You must do a half an hour of reading from the library that we have set up there. We also do sometimes cooking classes, and that's my favorite, because I love to eat. Okay?
Oh, I thought you were going to say you love to cook.
Well, you have to cook in order to eat it. But I love to eat. We also have the recording studio, and this seems to be the favorite room in the center because it is always filled with young persons. Either they are musically inclined to do recording, or they are interested in playing some sort of instrument. To date, with respect to the instruments, we have not gotten off the ground with that because we know getting volunteers is difficult. Because everybody will ask in one simple question: who's going to pay me? And that is an issue that we have. But the recording studio, it is up and running. We have had persons come in there and do their recordings. And we also have, which is I think is the hit for the center, every Saturday we have children come in there. We have a group called the Discovery Club. And children come there, and every Saturday we do something different, whether it be beachnik, a walk to Mount Liamiga, and if you haven't gone up there, you need to. Okay? Good.
Is that like a fireplace?
But it's not far. Once it's in St. Kitts, it's not far. Okay. Nowhere in St. Kitts is far. And sometimes we also engage them. We have persons visiting, whether it be a lawyer, one of the magistrates, somebody who is successful in business, somebody that these children can look up to and emulate and say, okay, I want to be like that person. And we have those children on Saturdays, and that is what we do. Or sometimes we just let them come and do whatever they want. You could sit down, watch the television, play whatever games there. Sometimes they work with their computers, they play whatever games they want. Or sometimes they go out in the courtyard, kick some football, play some cricket, and lost all the balls. I have to replace them now. Or we just engage them in, sometimes we just do a little sit down and chit chat about what went on for the week in school and how they think St. Kitts is with respect to young people. You know, a nice little sit down and chat. We also sometimes we do one-on-one sessions, because sometimes we have parents come in and say, I can't go with my son. And I hate to hear that. You brought him, so how you gonna say you can't go with him? Oh, he's too bad, he's out of control. No child is bad. But that's for me, no child, there's no bad child. children go through challenges, especially teenagers. And guess what? At some point in time coming up, we all went through some form of that. Yes, we may say that it's different now. The trouble that they're getting in is different now to what we were getting in. They're still going to the beach when the mother tells you, do not go in the seawater. I used to hear that. My mother tell me, don't go down the bay. But guess what? I go in anyway. When I come back, suffer the consequences. Tomorrow, next day, gone again. And this is what people have to understand. Children will always be children. You're going to tell them, do not move that bottle, otherwise. But they want to know if I move the bottle, what's going to happen. So they're going to move it anyway. And these are things that people need to understand. That is why it brings me back to the point that my good friend raised about parenting. You have to start parenting very, very early. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems. You are going to run into problems. You're going to be like some of the parents out there. Oh, I can't go with him. I can't go with that. Don't ever do that to a child. Don't ever do that to a child.
Okay. Tivana wants to jump in on this because what I was going to ask, and I know you'll respond to whatever he says, but what I was going to ask, with all this stuff happening, and we heard from the commissioner, we heard from Mr. Percival, with all this stuff happening, I mean, why are we still having people who are going through probation? Why do we have bad kids?
Bad? You just said that there's no bad children.
No bad children.
The children
there's no bad children.
The children
or why do we have children who do bad? Or do wrong things?
Misunderstood children.
Yes.
Not bad kids, they're misunderstood.
Okay, before I answer your question, I just wanted to ask Officer Percival a quick question. You said that we need to start parenting at the earliest possible time. What do you consider parenting? Because I have a 1-year-old and I think I'm parenting right now and I'm still facing challenges with her. She tells me no. Am I not parenting? Because from what I gather, if you say we need to start parenting, it means that your child will just be the way you want them to be. So, I think it's a bit ambiguous, and therefore that's why I say it's not a matter of parenting, it's a matter of dealing with the individualized attention that your child needs. Not more so you can't generalize and say parenting, because I do believe that we are parenting. It's just that some of us have children who exhibit different behaviors and sometimes you don't necessarily know how to deal with it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, of course.
So I'm just saying maybe your choice of words in terms of parenting would be a little offensive, especially to someone like me, because I think I'm parenting, yet my 1-year-old tells me no.
Have you ever seen this instant, a young child, and that child is swearing, and the parent will say, "Oh, leave him. He will eventually stop, or she will eventually stop." Have you ever seen that?
That is their style of parenting, of not knowing how to deal with certain behaviors. But it's not that they're not being a parent. If you understand, I'm agreeing with you,
yes.
But from a different perspective. We just have to kind of
but don't you think?
Be careful with our choice of words and our language when we want to.
But don't you think in this instance, don't you think the correct thing for the parent to do is to tell a child, you're not supposed to say these words. These words are not nice words. Because if left unchecked, that child will come and he'll continue and continue and continue and continue. And eventually, it will say it the wrong place at the wrong time around the wrong people.
Yes, I can agree with that particular incident. But who am I to judge someone's way of parenting? Do I believe in beating a child? Perhaps I don't. Is it the wrong thing to believe in? Not exactly. But it all depends on the individual child, as I say. And sometimes as parents, we have a way of doing things, and it's probably not the right way that will help that child to shape into the individual that we want them to be. So it's not necessarily parenting, because we are being parents. We are parenting, but it's the way in which we do it. Sometimes we do it right, sometimes we do it wrong, but it's not that you're not parenting.
I got you.
Okay.
And there's no one way for everybody.
Correct.
My point exactly. So if you say parenting, then that gives it a clear cut. It's either this or this. Okay? Just agree to disagree.
I think we've gotten that out the way. Thank you, Anna, for clearing that up. And I'm sure your 1-year-old is at home listening and saying, "Go, mom, go, mom," or say, "No, mom, no, mom."
Perhaps. I'm pretty sure she's saying
Anyway,
no.
we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to get the callers involved. So if you're interested in what we're discussing tonight, give us a call at 466-2666. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Hi, I am Shakira Watley, and I am the first ever Kitchen Superstar winner, and I am inviting you to be a part of the 10th anniversary radio auditions with Chico on the Jump Off Show on the 29th and the 30th at 4:30 p.m. And remember, never lose your faith in love when you're up against all odds.
Save our island. It's our responsibility. Save our island. Protect our rivers and the sea. Let us keep our country really looking good so we can sustain our livelihood. Save our island. Protect our natural beauty. Save our island. That's what's best for you and best for me. Save our island. It's our responsibility.
Hi, I am Shakira Watley, and I am the first ever Kitchen Superstar winner, and I am inviting you to be a part of the 10th anniversary radio auditions with Chico on the Jump Off Show on the 29th and the 30th at 4:30 p.m. And remember, never lose your faith in love when you're up against all odds.
Welcome back, and I want to thank everyone who've stayed tuned to ZIZ Television Channel 5 and also ZIZ Radio 96.1. And don't forget, in a couple of minutes, you can start dialing. The number is 466-2666. We're going to put that number up on the screen for you in a minute. But I'm going to go to Zara. We've been having a very interesting discussion so far. And I know at New Horizons, I'm sure you guys do a variety of things when you get these youths, to come over there. So one of the things I wanted to always, find out how this is done with young people. I mean, how do we teach our youth to understand how to resolve conflict and, avoid disrespectful behavior. Because I think, to me, that's one of the keys to what I see is wrong with our society today. It's not so much, and I go back to what Officer Percival says, there's not bad people. It's just that people make bad choices. And some of these choices involve, learning how to deal with conflict and just being, respectful to not only your peers, but adults as well.
Well, as Ms. Wharton had mentioned, one of the things that the ministry offers is mediation services. And it really is that people a lot of times just do not know how to deal with conflict, as you said. Everyone thinks that they should get their way immediately, and that's especially the case for young people. Something Officer Percival, and I think also the Commissioner spoke to, is that a lot of our young men, and we do this to our boys when we socialize them, I guess coming from the ministry, I always talk about gender issues as well. When we socialize young men, we always tell them, be a man, don't cry, do this. So the only emotion that we are okay allowing our boys and young men to show is anger. And anger is one of the worst emotions that you can bring to a conflict when you're not getting your way. So one of the things that we try to do at New Horizon in working with our young people and at the ministry in general is helping young men especially, and girls are like this too as well, but identify the range of emotions that they're dealing with. Yes, you're upset now, you are angry now, but what are the other emotions? What happened that triggered this? Usually when we can get out whatever the emotions are, we can start to problem solve. So what were your range of behaviors? Another big thing, I think as adults in the community, we have a responsibility to be role models for positive communication. We expect young people to treat us with respect, but the way we talk to young people and each other is entirely disrespectful.
Very interesting, Zara. I think we're getting into some really hot topics tonight. But we're gonna we have some callers lined up who want to join us on the program. So we're gonna take our first caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Yeah.
Yes.
I must say, train up the child when he should go. So when he comes home, we put the time for that. We start off with that. And I think best way. Now, one of your analysts said about allowing the child to do certain things. Another one said, no. So look at this example. And really the caller said, you should actually tell the child to stop the certain thing. The child is young. As soon as mommy and daddy enter the house, go into that person's bag, that child is taken from mommy and daddy. Take it to a neighbor's house. Legally, that child is taken. If you do not point out to the child, it is wrong. You are actually training the child to steal. And you have a problem with the law. When that child becomes old, look how it happens. The child wasn't trained properly, so what happened? When it reached older, something do what they're accustomed to do. So that's one point. The other point is that at the end of the day, society has changed so much, and this is something we have to realize. Gone are the days when a father or a mother correct the child properly without the other one saying, do not correct. Sure. This is my child. The child belongs to both of them. One is saying, do not correct my child. Grandmother or grandfather correcting the child, one or both parents might tell the grandmother, do not correct my child. So you see what happened here? You have a breakdown in society. You have a breakdown in respect for elders, because even though you now become a parent, you are still children to your parents. And no matter what, you still must respect your parents, even though you think you are a parent alive. You still have to show some respect. And this is some of the problems. So you are not respecting your parents. Your child or children seeing that what's going to happen. You're going to do likewise.
All right, caller. Yes. All right, caller. Well, thank you very much for raising some interesting issues. I think we got a couple more calls on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes.
I see a big problem in St. Kitts. The youth on the road and the parents inside the house. And I see a problem again that they're riding bike up and down the place and no lights at all on the bike. And they could get injured because sometimes people are looking and they're going traffic, like they don't know the traffic. And they're just going down Panyo all the time. So now and again you look that way, somebody coming across the road, they go across the road. But the youth on the road and the parents inside the house. That got a problem with that.
All right, well, thank you very much for your contribution. Okay. We got another caller on the line. Caller, welcome. Hello, caller, go ahead.
Hello?
All right, caller, yes. Go ahead and step away from your television or your radio.
Good night. Thanks for allowing me to be in on your discussion.
Thank you.
With reference to parenting, okay, I think sometimes we discuss topics without breaking it down a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, personally, I believe that there's a two-part factor in parenting, and there must be that female factor adding to the male factor to create that care in order for us to enter into parenting. The root of that word parent is two parts coming together, peer, entering. And when without the peer, we will have a serious problem with a mother trying to do mothering on her own, a father trying to do fathering on his own, but without that amalgamation, the parenting factor will never come out the way we would like it to become. The other thing I would like to raise is our insistence on referring to our children as young people or the youth and presenting that separatist factor. We are separating them with the problem away from us, the adults. The mango didn't get worms after it came off the tree. The mangoes got the worms on the tree. These children are our children, and we have to start owning them and recognizing that they did not come with the problem. They were born into it. They came here with the problem already here. They didn't bring raping our young children. They didn't bring murdering our young children. They came here, met all of these things here. And we, the adults, need to address the elements in our society that have broken down to the point where the leadership of our society, and I'm not talking about government, the leadership factor of our society is found wanted. We have to address that. The environment in which our youth will have to grow and live has to be put back in order for those youths to find their way again. We have to stop blaming the youth. They are not the problem. They are not the cause of the problem. They have come here meeting the problems and had no choice. When they step forward, the problem is around them. It's the environment we present to them. We have to fix the environment. Look at how our highest office in this country. You listen to House of Assembly and you want to disclaim it as well because of the nature of the officers in our highest offices need addressing. Because until we start to address these elements, those are the examples our youth will have to follow. We have a Christian council, which only seems to be present when there's a political issue. We can't find them for other issues. They appear not to be able to find them when there are other issues, but major political issues. In our school system, we have come to believe that the computer is our education system, and it is not. it is one of the biggest corrupter of the belief in our education system, because it was put into our system and our youth appear to have accepted it as an alternative to common sense and right thinking and applying themselves to solve issues, solve problems. They don't do maths in school anymore because nothing is worked out by our youths anymore. They punch a button and expect to get the answer. We have to address the environment, take our hands off of our children, and give them a better environment to grow in. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, caller. Some interesting but controversial points as well. And don't forget, you can join us at 466-2666. I know usually when we have these shows and you're listening to us on the radio, you're a customer calling 465-2555. We don't want you to disturb the DJ tonight. We want you to call us here in the television studios, 466-2666. And any one of the panelists can jump in on some of the stuff that we've heard from the callers so far.
Ladies.
Okay, so we'll go with Ms. Jacobs.
Just very quickly, I believe it was the first caller who was talking about grandparents correcting parents and that sort of thing. This is something that happens with parenting all the time. Sometimes we want to right the wrongs that happened in our childhood. So if we felt our parents were too strict with us, when we have our children, we're going to be more lenient. And with all things in life, there is balance. So it's possible our parents were too strict with us, maybe they were too heavy-handed, but we want to also be strict with our children, but embrace some leniency with it. So I do agree with the caller. Sometimes it's a generational thing, but sometimes we are just trying to make things right for ourselves. So let's make sure we are parenting our young people and not ourselves. We're not trying to make ourselves feel better.
Interesting. Hold that thought, Officer Percival, because we got a few more callers who want to get in. So, good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Hello, good evening.
Good.
My points are for the last caller who stressed a bit on computers. No, my issue is, does he want to continue to live in the Stone Age?
Yep. Okay. Hold on, caller. I prefer that. I mean, we address the issues here as opposed to addressing the other callers.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at, because if he's saying that the youths are not, working out things on their own, it's not a matter of that, it's a matter of things and times change. I mean, it is rumored that the first instance for a vehicle was a square instead of a round tire. So what's he saying, that they should have stuck with the square that wouldn't have moved? If there's an easier way to do something, then you do it that way, especially if you're getting it worked out correctly. With the whole single parent issue, I am a product of a single parent. My mother worked hard. That parent has to realize that, hey, your workload is doubled. Any decision that I have made in my life that may have been negative, I'm telling you this, has came after I am a grown man and practically making my own money. And the last point, as for the whole high political officials, and I really don't see what that have to do with the youth, actually, because we make our own decisions, really and truly. Politicians don't influence us at all. So youths are going to be youths, and as I said, things and times change. So if you can't realize and recognize that if you don't go along with the times, you're going to be left behind. A computer is one of the things that I would want my son to learn how to operate. His phone, he has an iPad, and I'm telling you, he could work wonders on it. Don't get me wrong, it's not all fun and games on it. There are a lot of educational stuff. So to say that, youths are practically going down a wrong way by utilizing technology, I just can't agree with that.
Okay. I understand your point, caller, and thank you very much for coming in, but I do think that the caller was kind of making the same point that you're making, not saying necessarily that the computer is a bad thing, but it's what we do on the computer. Anyway, we got some more calls, so good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table. Okay, we lost that one, so do we have another call? Okay, Yes, we do have another call coming in. We're going to take this call, and anybody else who wants to join us, you can call us at 466-2666. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
And good night to the panel at the front table there inside the studio tonight. And good discussion to pertaining on the investment into our youth. Now, I would like to ask a question. Though the statement really fit the profile of how we see how youth are engaging into the world development, are we just seeing that we could get the youth and work for money and that is all in our livelihood?
Is that your question?
That's the question I would like to ask to the commissioner in particular.
Okay, not sure that I understood what the question.
Let me ask the question, Mr. Monarch, and you will understand what I would like to say. So the panel could feel the aspect of what is going on with the federation and with the youth in the general aspect. Now we know that we're seeing that there's many good talented youth around here. But still, we have engaged to neglect a lot of the talent that the youth have been enhanced into themselves. But still, we need to show that we're saying the youth could do better, but we don't show the aspect of the aspiration and the congrats, what they need to be able to get better, what to do for the development and the social and economical standing in the federation.
All right, caller, thank you very much for your point. I think you turned it around there in the end. We got another call, so we're going to take this one. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Good evening to the panel. Good evening, Mana.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm listening to the discussion, and there are some points that jumped out at me. One is the point that this body was making with respect to the parents. The mother did not want to attend the graduation because she felt herself.
Hey, caller, you're coming through a little bit faint, so if you can.
All right,
sounds a lot better.
Now?
Thank you very much. Sounds a lot better.
I hear me better now?
Yes.
Good. I was saying that this body made a point with respect to the parents who didn't want to attend the graduation because she felt her son was not doing well in school. The question that I would like us to address with respect to that is a societal one. When are we going to move from putting academia as the only benchmark by which we measure our children's success and bring skills, etc., up to the level where a person, a child, who is skill-oriented can feel that he's progressing and the parent can be justly proud of the achievement, number one. Number two, there was, I'll couple these to an issue raised with respect to Mr. Percival, when he spoke about children will do the things tell them not to do just to see what will happen. Good point. But I think we stop short. What happens when that child decides to do the things that he was told not to do? And one of the panelists raised about an issue with her 1-year-old and saying that, well, she says no. Now, those 2 points coming together, this is what I have gleaned. Are we in trying to be that friendly and kind to our children, allowing negotiation? What about culpability and sanction? Because if we raise our children without those 2 elements, culpability in terms of taking responsibility for what you do, and if it is something that is wrong, there is sanction to be imposed. I believe that I'm frightened when I hear the discussion in the region about what we need to do in bringing up our children. I'm frightened because I'm realizing that we are not taking along those 2 aspects, culpability and sanction. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, caller. Culpability and sanction. I don't know. Sanction sounds like a tough word. Let's Ivana, you went directly to you.
Exactly. Yes. Perhaps I need to bring some clarity as to what I was trying to, the point that I was trying to bring about in terms of the parenting. When Officer Percival said that sometimes we start parenting too late, I disagreed with his wording. Essentially, I did not disagree with his idea behind parenting. I did not disagree with that. What I am saying is that there are parents who, if their child does something wrong, they nip it in the bud. But then we still have those children, which is a minority, who end up being bad nonetheless, in spite of that parent being a parent. So when he says some of us start parenting too late, I essentially meant that he was generalizing the term parent. Sometimes some of us don't do exactly what we need to do, but it generalizes everyone, and I don't agree with that. So it's not that I'm saying if your child does something, you should not punish that child. By no means. After all, I was raised by a mother who punished me. So how dare me say that? I was not raised in an environment where I can do something wrong and it is accepted. Of course not. But parenting, saying that you're not parenting, kind of places a negative connotation on those parents who are actually parenting. If you guys understand what I'm saying.
I have a question.
Okay. We're going to take this question. Well, hold on. We're going to take this break. Let's go. We're going to take the break, and then we'll come back. We got a few more callers who want to get in, and we'll take your question, Commissioner, when we get back.
Made a stupid mistake.
See where it's now landed me.
My baby's now behind bars.
Feels forgotten by society.
It's time for us to make a change. We must make a change. Children now, Justice Reform Project. Oh, we must make a change. Instead of incarceration, y'all, let's try diversion, reform, rehabilitation.
Our youth needs a second chance beyond bars.
A world that accepts them with open arms.
It's nice to know that you're here.
Just know that we care.
This time we'll do our part. Let's all make a fresh start.
It's time for us to make a change. We must make a change. Children now, Justice Reform Project. Oh, we must make a change.
Make a change.
The Juvenile Justice Reform Project, a new path to changing lives for good, funded by USAID and the OECS Secretariat.
The government of St. Kitts and Nevis recently passed legislation that reduces the time limits for residency applications for non-nationals working in St. Kitts and Nevis. Nationals from non-OECS countries who have resided in St. Kitts and Nevis and have had valid work permits for the last 3 years are now eligible for annual residency in St. Kitts and Nevis. Annual residency removes the need for annual work permits for these individuals. No changes have been made to the residency requirements for citizenship. For more information regarding this initiative, visit the Ministry of Homeland Security office in Port St. Kitts or call 467-1209 for more information. The Ministry of Homeland Security, doing its part in support of regional integration.
Okay, callers, if you still want to join us, you can at 466-2666. But the Commissioner, you had a question that you wanted to ask.
I wanted to ask the young lady.
You're not trying to stump anybody tonight, are you?
No.
Good.
She spoke earlier of choice of words. And she said that her mother punished her. And I'm asking her, did she punish you or did she correct you?
I think it always feels like a punishment.
I think it's yes. As a child, I would interpret it as punishment. Now I'm an adult. I would think she was teaching me what was right.
She was correcting you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very important point, because I think some of the kids, you know, when you, and I don't know, even if you just send them in the corner and say timeout, I mean, you know, they take that as punishment. Well,
Can I tell you
they
a
need to live
story?
back in my, I need to live back in my days.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Go ahead.
When I was 13 years old, I went to school in St. Croix.
You know what? I'm going to let you hold that thought so that we can get our callers in tonight. I know we've had all male callers tonight, so we're looking for some of the mothers to call in. But we're going to take this call. Welcome to the round table. Hello? Go ahead, caller. Okay, don't seem as if that we have that one, so we're going to move on. Welcome. Go ahead. Welcome, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Very interesting topic.
Thank you.
And I was about to make the same point that you made, is that most males are calling. That's not really want them calling and we want them in the house.
Very important point.
So I've been listening from the very beginning, and Officer Percival made a comment about parenting. And I agree with him. You cannot wait until the child is old to begin to parent that child. No, everybody has its own style of parenting, but we need to correct children from very young. He used the analogy about the indecent language. If we smile, the child thinks that that is the way to go. But if we chastise the child, not necessarily by lashing,
That's correct.
we know that the child will know that it's not appropriate to do. Okay? Now, the other instance is where parents are no longer like the parents that we had before. When you got home from school, your mother was there. Father may come home after. In these days, many children are parenting themselves because parents are out having a second job. What is the purpose for that second job? Is it really to make ends meet, or for us to have in abundance? Are we making money to spend at the court, or do we want to spend the time with the child? There is this story where this guy asked his dad, how much money do you work for 1 hour? And the father thought the child was out of place. Eventually he told the child he made $8.50 an hour. The child went, got his piggy bank, took out $8.50 to buy 1 hour of that father's time. Time that we spend with our children are more important than money.
That's correct.
Too many children between 3:30 and 8 o'clock have no supervision. If you're a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old without any supervision, what could mommy tell me at 10? You can't tell me come inside. So those are the areas that we have to look at. We have to address those situations so that we can go forward with our nation's youth. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, caller. Very pertinent point in terms of, we're talking about investment. How about some time? But we're going to let this other caller come in and give us their point of view. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the round table.
Good evening. Excellent program as usual.
Thank you.
Just a few areas I want to point at. The last caller touched on something that I was thinking about as well. Time. A lot of parents, when you ask them, why weren't you at the PTA meeting? Oh, I didn't have the time because I had to work. Or why don't you spend so much time with your child as you ought to? They don't have the time because they have to work. The same parent who has to work will find time to go to the hairdresser. They will find time to get their nails done. They'll find time to hang out with their friends, but they don't have enough time to spend with their children, help with homework, or just talk to them. A lot of times what children need is somebody to talk to, their parents to talk to them. We need to show our children love. Buying them this and that is not necessarily showing them love. Yes, you're giving them things which they may see other people want have and they want to have as well. But that parental love is what we must show them. We need to always affirm our children when they do things good. We tend to jump down their throats when they do something wrong. But in between doing something wrong, they may have done one simple deed that was good, but yet we don't affirm them for that deed. We bash them for the wrong that they did. We need to listen to them, give them time to express how they feel, what they think about situation or about the way you may have chosen to punish them for something. Listen to what they have to say. Don't shut them up, because you never know what is under there, hurting that child, that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very solid contribution, and we got more callers coming through. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table. Good evening, caller. You're on. Okay, Nash. Yes, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Okay. I just want to ask the commissioner this question. The program that you had with the youth who are on the road after 9/10, how has the parents responded to that, and is it still effective?
Yes, it's very effective. As a matter of fact, we haven't been picking up much children lately. Okay. But we are out there every night.
Yes, I must commend you for that. It's a very good initiative, and y'all need to continue. Okay?
Ma'am. Thank you very much. We got another caller. Okay, we lost that one. We're going to take this one, though. Good evening. Welcome to the round table. Hello, caller? Okay, so we don't have that caller. Commissioner, you were about to make a point, though, before.
No, that's a gone point. You were talking about timeout, and I was saying when I was in school in St. Croix, they gave me timeout. I left St. Kitts, went to St. Croix, and I got detention. And they had books in there and TV and everything. I said, "This is how y'all get punished?" Because when I was here, Washi used to whoop us with the piece of chairfoot, you know. So it didn't make any difference. But anyway, one of the things that we keep forgetting too as adults is that we have to respect the youth. Yeah. You know, we can't talk the way we want to talk to these children, expect them to not respond in a negative manner. I stopped some guys the other morning, known gang members. And by the time it was all over, one of them said to me, "You know, you're not like they say you are. You know, you treat us with respect." And he gave me a daps. They went on their way. Now, you have to respect these children. And also, we need to, as everybody's been saying, invest in other people's children. I want to use the word kids, but I was told in St. Kitts, you can't say kids, that's goats. So I came here 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, and I joined a society that sponsors children. And I sponsored a young lady through high school, and now she's going to be going into college, just graduated. But when I first met her at the event, she wanted to be a doctor and the first female police commissioner. We promoted 4 women last year in the police force, and one of them is an inspector, and the inspector is in the studio with us tonight. And this year, when that child graduated from high school, she still wants to be a doctor, but now she wants to be an inspector now. Inspector is lower than the commissioner, but she had someone that she could identify with. And it's very important that we as adults reach out to other people's children in a positive way and try to help. I had a young lady, her son was smoking marijuana, and I brought me a bunch of marijuana kits. I brought them on my own money. I brought them here to St. Kitts. And I met her at Richards with her son. He admitted he was smoking marijuana. She checked, and he was 12 years old. And we struck up a relationship, and during Christmas, in my own pocket, I paid for him to come to the station every day and help me out around the station just so he would have his Christmas money. So we need to, as a community, to reach out and help some of these kids, because these children, because all they want is someone to listen and pay attention.
Okay, so we got some more callers who are trying to reach us, and we're going to accommodate as much as possible. We're going to start wrapping up probably in another 10 minutes or so. But good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table. Okay, so we lost that one. We lost another one as well? Okay. Sorry, we just need you to be a little bit more patient, because we want the panel to get out some of some of what they have to say as well. We're going to go to Mr. Officer Percival while we try to clear our lines.
I have a quick question for the commissioner. What is your take on school functions and knowing that we are trying to get young persons off the street at a particular time. School functions, they start 8 o'clock and sometimes 2 o'clock the next morning. Children are still at that function. And when we say children, children who are not supposed to be on the street. So what is your take on that, please?
If the child has a justified reason to be there and they are supervised, then they are permitted. If they are by themselves on the streets, then we will intervene. We have gone to Mapao, the Strip, over in Cayon, over in Old Road. We've been all around this island, and we have found children on the streets that shouldn't be there. If it's a function where they are supposed to be and they're supervised, it's not an issue. It's only when they are unsupervised.
Okay, Commissioner, thank you very much for that. Let's see if we get these callers in this time. Good evening. Welcome to the round table.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A question for the Commissioner, please. If using the strap on a child abuse, if it's not, could you explain what? Okay?
Well, I don't believe that it's against the law to chastise your child. And I've worked in the States, in 2 different states, Texas and Florida. And it's very clear that you can chastise your child as long as you don't draw blood, as long as you don't leave marks. Okay. And that is how most of the laws are written.
Okay, so do we have another caller? Yes, we're going to go ahead and take this caller. Caller, welcome to the round table.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Yes, good night, Mr. Monarch and Company.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Officer Possible made a statement that is earlier on about parenting. No, I might get it controversial. I don't believe people could parent children if they don't have children. Don't get me wrong. We will talk about if the father or the mother, who the parent who put the rod on the shelf, the child. In other words, what they're saying, you spare the rod, you're spoiling the child. Some people like to say that was once upon a time. But I see parenting like management. Yeah, like you're managing a business. Because you have some fundamentals about management, which is democratic, autocratic, and laissez-faire, and so forth. But and in that you're gonna control, you're gonna do different aspects. But what I find out nowadays, everybody has their own way of charting out things, but to me, especially when folks, they come up the hard way and they're put on the street by the parents and grandparents, they now go on their own and they get up into upper level. They adopt what you call a laissez-faire attitude. Children. That's how I see it. Now, after the possible, you have a very golden opportunity to get the formation of youth clubs. The youth clubs used to be prevalent around St. Kitts. We never used to get in so much trouble. And a lot of us, including myself, I got training in youth club development and so forth. I got a couple of certificates. In the 60s and 70s, when that was prevalent, I had a lot of trouble. I know times change. But people were committed to becoming good citizens. And so the youth club movement was very prevalent. But you don't even have it. They have it in churches now. But after the possible, you have a good chance to set up some youth clubs. Mix boys and girls. I want to say a lot, but I can't do it tonight because the thing is so short. So I just want to add a little thing tonight, Mr. Monarch. I think with this program is very excellent. You should have a follow-up. I believe you should have a follow-up with this one because you're touching the core of the problem that are hurting our society.
Good. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, caller, for your wisdom. I think I know exactly who you are, and so thank you very much for coming in. And yes, I know we do follow-ups for we've done follow-ups to some of our programs before, so I think there's a vote for follow-up. We're going to take this next call before we start wrapping up. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good evening.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yes. Now, my contribution is this. it does seem odd to me when I hear teachers, trainers, high officials, parents, guardians, and the like referring to a child as a kid and children as kids. When we speak of child and children, correspondingly, do we say kids and goats? I think we do. So, to me, we ought not to confuse our youth. In my early years, there was never the confusion with child and children. It was never confused. The children was never confused with kids. The plural of kids would not be children. Kids go with goats. Nowadays, we have been seeing our children behaving in certain ways. But certainly, children, if they are goats, what to expect? What do we expect? Permit me also to make a few remarks about the training of our children. Training cannot only be done in the homes and the schools. Children are also taught by their peers away from homes. And that is a concern that organizations like Operation Future and others should take on board. If you go to many of the recreation grounds on a particular day when there is lots of children around, the behavior of those children leaves a lot to be desired. And all it needs is responsible grown-ups to explain to them that these bad words, which they love so much, ought to be taken out of their vocabulary. And the more of this we get across to them, the better this society will be. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, caller. Do we have another call? We got one more call, and then we're gonna start, asking the panel to put it all together for tonight. So, good evening, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
This is for the commissioner. Some of the same policemen that are out there locking up children after hours, some of them are the same ones who are not looking out for their own children. I have a son, 15 years. For a policeman, we live in the same community. The child haven't seen him for almost a year. He don't know, he knows school child, but he don't know what class the child is in. He don't know nothing about his son, whether he in the house, he out the house or not. The child is sick. I'm on disabled benefit. To get the money, I have to always take him to the court. When I leave from the court, I have to go straight to the hospital because of pain and all that. So, some of them out there who locking up people's children, I think they need to look out for them own children. Because I have the problem with that police officer. For a long time now, I got to go to the court. Every time I want this money, I got to go to the court. Sometimes it's rather 5 months away before because I don't want to be going in there to feel the pain. But when I go down there to get the money, when he gone tight because the magistrate said tight. But I always got to come down there just to get the money to feed the child. So, I feel you should really pull them up on it. Thank you.
All right, caller. Well, thank you very much and we empathize with your situation and hope there's some positive intervention that would assist. So, we have a couple of minutes, and I want to go around the table. I'm sure you guys have heard the callers. and weighing in on the topic. We've heard, all these different ideas of how we should invest in our children. Can't say kids, because kids refer to something else. So I think Mr. Percival wants to jump in, then we're going to go to you, Sonia.
Our second to last caller, he made a point that is very, very dear to me. And he's correct. Each play field that you go to, and this is something I have proven for myself, you go and no matter what sport it is, you always get the language that is not good for children consumption. And I often say, these are the people who these children are supposed to be looking up to. You have the footballers, you have the basketballers, and for the footballers for sure, because I have seen this, right? The bad word, and this and that. And children, they're sucking up everything because children are like sponge. You put a sponge in a bucket of water and the water gone. You just see the children sucking up everything and they feel like this is the way to go. Sometimes you see the footballers and the feel and the kind of behavior that they displayed, even to the officials who officiated. And children, they're looking at them and say, I want to be like him because he could play football good. But what kind of behavior you see displaying? Very negative behavior, and that child will come just like that particular footballer because you feel like, okay, that's the way football is supposed to be. That is the way it's supposed to be done. That is how it's supposed to go on the field. So we have to be very, very careful who we expose our children to. That's one point. Another point one of the callers made, there are a lot of parents who are basically playing catch up with their children. And when I say catch up, allow me to explain myself.
Yes,
sometimes
we don't want to get in on your face over here anymore.
Sometimes you'll find a parent, okay, I didn't have this when I was coming up. So my child, they're gonna get the $400 pair of shoes. Each child will have a TV in their room. They're gonna get whatever it is they want. Whatever they want to eat, they're gonna get it. And that, to me, mind you, it is good because you're supposed to make sure that your children are well looked after, have what they need to survive in this world. And I don't think that, I'm not going to be home today, so I'm going to get the children XYZ to take their mind off of my absence. And that happens a lot. You find parents, okay, let's go XYZ place. I find a parent and a child in the same setting, hanging out. That's not good. It is not good. Children are supposed to be children. Children are supposed to live their youthful life. From 0 to, I wouldn't even want to say 18. Children are supposed to live their youth. Children are supposed to do youthful things. And I realize now that a lot of that is not happening. Children are coming from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoop, and skip and go right up into adulthood. And it's not supposed to happen.
All right, Mr. Percival, thank you very much for your contribution. And we go to our CARICOM Youth Ambassador and the voice of that once ago, Sonia Body.
Okay, I would just like to endorse what one of the callers said. Certainly we need to praise our children, our young people more. As one of my panelists would have said, very often in the media we see too much negative. It's just young people are involved. If you just think about it, you think young people are only involved in negative things. And so I'm appealing to all our media practitioners to highlight more positive things that our young persons are doing. I had the opportunity to travel to Guyana sometime earlier this year, and I was amazed that there was this big billboard with this child who had done well academically, and I was like, wow, I wonder if we've ever seen this, we would ever see this in St. Kitts. But too often we spend so much time time stressing on the negative behaviors that young persons and negative acts that young persons are involved in, and then you say somebody did something good, and probably one media host would carry it, and there isn't much there isn't much talk about it. But then we spend so much time talking about the crime and the violence that sometimes the children, because they hear it so much, they feel that this is an accepted behavior. And that is why it brings me to the point that we need more positive role models. And that's why the media has a big role to play in highlighting these positive role models, so that our young persons, they have people to look up to. And that's why I was happy that the commissioner said that this young person now, she's now aspiring to be like the inspector, because now she can identify with someone who has achieved something positive, who's going to make a meaningful contribution to our society. And so it's very, very important that we cultivate more role models in our society, and we continuously praise our young people. I mean, they are going to make mistakes. We are human, and who hasn't sinned, cast the first stone. But at the end of the day, we need to encourage our young people more. Additionally, I want to say that in an area that I think we need to invest in is with our persons that are leaving the prison system. I don't know if much is being, I know work is being done, and there, to some degree, there's some level of rehabilitation that's done within the prison system. But a lot of times we have persons who, they come back out into the society and there's no one there to receive them. Society is not embracing them, and then what should I do? Should I just commit another crime and return to the prison system? I mean, as I said earlier, we expect a lot of things from these people, but are we providing them with the resources that they need to make these contributions to our society? We have, for example, a returning nationals program here in St. Kitts, where, we embrace those who are returning to the beautiful island of St. Kitts and Nevis. But those who are returning to a beautiful society, who have been locked away for some time, have not been socializing, have not been, up to date with what's happening on the outer end. I mean, how can we help them to reintegrate into society so they can become productive citizens as well? And I'm very, very, very concerned about that. I mean, when I see young men coming out of the prison, I spend time, I talk to them, I said, hey, how can I assist you? I mean, just today I saw a young man, and I said, how are you doing? He's actually a prisoner right now. He was at a police station. I healed him up. One day he actually saw me. He said, Miss Buddy, you have any book on leadership? It just so happened that I had a book about leadership in my bag. I took it out. I said, officer, can I give him this book? Because for me, that is my little investment. He might share a few of the ideas in there with another prisoner who might be coming out next month, next week, and they might come out and make a difference in their own society and be able to mentor some other child. But we have a lot. I find that we have too many repeat offenders, and that tells us something, that we are lacking investment. More needs to be done, and I'm very concerned about that, and that's the point I want to end on, that we need to continuously invest in our young persons, invest our time. Time wasted can never be regained, parents. So if you're going to spend all that time out there doing other things and not spending time with your children, you can't get it back. One teacher told me the other day that he told a group of students, I prefer to spend an extra hour in class with you than to meet you in my house at night. And persons are wondering what he meant, but if I don't spend that extra time with you, you might not come out to be something, and you might end up coming, burglarize my house, and I might have to wake up and meet you stealing or robbing out something in my house. But no, I'm going to invest that time. So I want to appeal to our citizens to invest your time, your talents, your energies to help the young people for our federation. Someone spoke about the clubs, and I've been wondering myself, how many young persons are actually in clubs this summer? Our programs, what are they doing? I mean, I know for some of them you have to spend a little cash, but if you put away a little savings here, there, you could send your child to a summer program. I'm happy that my grandmother, she took the time out and she spent a little $10 to take me to library summer camp. And someone mentioned, one of the callers, that parenting cannot exist unless, say, the father and mother. And I want to say here on national TV that I only met my mother when I was 16 years old. I've met my father once when I was 25. I was raised mostly by my grandmother and my cousin to some extent in high school, but because of the many other persons who took an interest in my well-being, and I could list names, teachers, persons at church, and that is why it's important that we involve our children in churches. We get them in extra groups at afternoons, because these are other persons in your society that are going to help you along the way and help your child to go and develop and to make positive and wise decisions. We can't do it alone, and it takes a society again to raise a child, and I'd like to end on that note.
Thank you very much. I see my producers hurrying me along here, but I'm going to give my other three panelists a chance to, wrap up. So we're going to start with Tivana, and thank you very much for coming tonight. See how easy it was?
Okay, in closing, I would like to say that it is no secret that times are changing. The attitudes of our children are changing. The plethora of issues that our children are facing have become so dimensional over the years that it is incumbent upon us as the stakeholders in our nation's children to change the scope of our approach when dealing with our children and the issues that they face. With regards to the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services and the investment that we are making in our nation's youth, firstly, throughout the year, every year we host several camps. The last one we held was over the Easter, where we focused on teenage girls. And next week, August 6th to the 15th, we will be hosting a creative arts camp that will focus on the arts, dance, music, drama, and poetry. We believe that this is an area that will appeal to our nation's youth, and we want to use that as a positive reinforcement for these children, because sometimes we don't focus on what they're good at. So at the end of this camp, our hope is to have a huge production so that they can exhibit to the whole world, or to St. Kitts rather, what they would have learned over that period of time. Moreover, as we further invest in our nation's youth, this fall, or this September, I don't use fall here, sorry, we will be bringing forth our diversion program. This diversion program will help to divert our nation's youth from the formal processes of the juvenile justice system. I mean, in the past, we would have found juveniles being taken to the court, then they will be sentenced to HMP. What we found is that did more harm than good, because these children will be placed with hardened criminals, and then there will be less of a chance of them rehabilitating. So what we want to do is to divert them from the formal processes into a more informal procedure. Through that informal procedure, we have what we call Step Up. Through Step Up, we will focus on hydroponics, music, and videography. Again, we try to focus on the technical aspect of things, because as we mentioned earlier, some children are not inclined academically, and we understand that. So we want to focus on something that they're good at, and this will in turn help them to see the good in themselves and want to do good for the future. So I continue to implore everybody to play your parts, do what you have to do in order to keep our nation's youth on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tivana. Now, Zara.
Thank you, Mr. O'Gara. So, investing in our youth, I think one of the key things we need to think about is what the return on that investment looks like. As many of the panelists and callers have spoken about, it's not necessarily about getting 10 distinctions in CXC. I think for me, seeing a good investment in our youth, the return would look like our youth being positive, our youth working hard, our youth being empathetic, caring about someone else other than themselves. That's what a good return on our investment would look like. On the note of parenting, and just as a community, when dealing with our teenagers, it's important that we pay attention, we ask questions, we listen to our young people, and we seek support, because we cannot do it by ourselves. Everyone has said that we cannot do it by ourselves. We do not have all the answers, but as a community, we can create the support that we need. So on that note, thank you, Mr. O'Gara.
Thank you very much, Zara. Well put together. And Kamish?
Well, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force is not all about locking people up. When I first got here, I met with some of the gang members from, I won't call the name, from one of the areas, and the young men told me that they didn't like robbing and doing the different things that they were doing, but they were hungry. And if I could get them a piece of land where they can grow some food, so they had something to eat, they would stop what they were doing. And I went to the Prime Minister, who is the head of the anti-crime unit under which the police falls, and we got a piece of land. We ended up starting a hydroponics farm right here in McKnight area, and these young men went on to becoming very productive. We have to understand as adults and even as police that peer pressure does cause some of these children to do what they do. MAGIC program and the TAPS program deals with these issues, and it helps the children to make positive choices. I'm very glad to hear that you're going to have the diversion program. Again, 25 years U.S. law enforcement. I think that's something that should have been here a long time ago, and I will fully support diversion because we have too many children getting lost in the system, too many children committing acts that don't necessarily require for them to be incarcerated. And I will strongly support diversion here in the Federation. And finally, my oldest daughter will be 29 years old this year. Ever since my children have been small, we have Friday nights, family night. Spend at least one night with your children. I'm telling you, you're going to reap dividends in the long run. They're going to grow up and they're going to leave, and you're going to have nothing if you don't spend time with your children. Miss Body said you're going to play catch-up. That's what's going to happen to you. My daughter would call me when we moved to Florida and she went to college. Every Friday night she'd be with her friends in college, and I'd be on the road working in the police car, and she would call me just so all of us can be in the circle on the phone because it was our family night. Invest in your children.
All right, thank you very much. And I think we had a very solid discussion tonight. I'm going to add my 2 cents to it, you know. I mean, I kind of went on the internet. I did the young thing. So the internet is not so bad. It's, you know, how we use it. But if trusted and respected, young people readily learn to evaluate situations, make decisions, and solve problems. I say that is words of wisdom. I'm going to read this out a little part here that I like. Youth development, the process of growing up and developing one's capabilities happens regardless to what we do. The challenge is to promote positive youth development and plan quality experiences with our young people. It would be nice if there was a drive-through window where you could order the positive aspects of youth development when planning a program. But it takes active involvement and careful planning to fill the order. And I think that's what we're talking here about tonight. Investing in our youths. Just a few program notes for ZIZ. On Tuesday, the 29th of August at 8 p.m., 29th of July, that is, at 8 p.m. you can join us for an exclusive one-on-one interview with the Honorable Mark Brantley, who is the leader of the federal opposition and the deputy premier in Nevis. He'll be interviewed by our senior news editor, Ebony Brandon. And also tomorrow afternoon, one of the things that ZIZ is doing to invest in our youths, we have our 10th anniversary of the Petition Superstar that opens up tomorrow afternoon. That's the 29th and the 30th at 4:30 p.m. You can call in, sing a verse and chorus of your favorite song, and you can end up on October 25th winning $2,500 as the 10th anniversary winner of Petition Superstar. I want to say thank you very much to all of our listeners. Thank you to our viewers. Thanks to our callers, and thanks to this excellent, expert, professional panel tonight. Oh, my producer doesn't like me to say panel, so I say guests, and she's giving me the thumbs up right now. Thank you very much, Esther. I want to say thanks to our camera guys. I want to say thanks to Marlon and all the staff here at ZIZ who make this possible every 2 weeks. We'll be back on the 11th of August. We're going to be right in the middle of the CPL, so we're going to do a CPL edition, but 2 weeks after that we're going to come back and we're going to I think we're going to regurgitate on this topic again, looking for some more ideas as to how we invest in our children, and get some more information from the Community Development Ministry as to what you guys are doing, because I think there's a lot more still to come. And so we're going to give everyone the opportunity to come back and at least address our guests. So good evening from the round table. My name is Clement O'Gara. Have a great evening.